No April Fool's joke here. For the first time in more than 2 decades, the Texas Longhorns are headed to the Final Four. We'll give some much-deserved love to the Texas women's basketball team and discuss their chances to win it all next on Locked On Longhorns. Intro!
You are Locked On Longhorns, your daily podcast on the Texas Longhorns. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Welcome in. You are locked on to the Texas Longhorns. I'm your host, BK Brad Kellner, Texas grad, Austin native, and longtime sports radio host here in the Lone Star State. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every single day. We're free and available wherever you get your podcasts and on YouTube as well. Please like, subscribe, leave a comment, and tell your Longhorn friends about Locked On, your team every day. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. That's right. For the first time in 22 years, the Texas Longhorns are headed to the Final Four. The top seed in the Birmingham 3 region took care of number 2 seed TCU last night. 58-47, the final in the Elite Eight. It wasn't pretty, especially in the first half. I mean, this was 23-21 at recess, but the Longhorns found a way to get it done like they have so many times this season. The story of the game, if it wasn't obvious by the score, the Longhorn defense holding TCU to 47 points. The Horned Frogs shot just 26.7% from the floor. They had 21 turnovers to only 12 made field goals. Let me say that again. TCU had 21 turnovers last night. They only made 12 shots over the entire 40 minutes. And we talked about the importance of Texas defending the three. TCU was the 6th best three-point shooting team in women's college basketball this year. The Longhorns held them to just 4 of 20 from beyond the arc. If my math is right, that's just 20%. The Longhorn defense was relentless. It was stifling. It was harassing. It was incredible. I mean, TCU couldn't get anything going offensively. And the Longhorns pressed for 40 minutes. And TCU, I think, had 3 5-second violations. They couldn't even get the ball in bounds. They had a 10-second violation where they couldn't get across the timeline in time. I mean, they just couldn't figure anything out. Again, if it wasn't obvious enough by the fact that they only scored 47 points in a 40-minute game, if you watched this one, you saw just how much trouble TCU had getting anything rolling offensively. They could not find a rhythm. Hell, in the second half, their offensive strategy was basically Haley Van Lith driving downhill, trying to flop her way to the free throw line. Kind of worked, kept TCU around for a lot of the game, but that was because there was nothing else TCU could do against Texas. The Longhorns have been one of the best defensive squads in America all season long, and at the best possible time, it showed up. Huge win for Texas. We'll let you hear from some of the players, starting with Maddie Booker, the SEC Player of the Year, who, of course, was the Big 12 Player of the Year in 2024, the first-team All-American. She has been the best player on this Longhorn club all year long. She was asked about making it to the Final Four for the first time in her career.
It feels good. It feels good just to me, be able to the people who haven't been in this moment yet, to have fun with it. I mean, last year was more of like nerves for me and more of like wanting to win, and I didn't really have fun with it. But now, I'm having fun with it now. I mean, it's fun. Like March Madness is, you must have fun in it.
I'm glad she's having fun because that was stressful watching that game last night. But Texas found a way, and of course, for the Longhorns, they've gotten so close so many times under Vic Schaefer. Last night was their 4th Elite Eight game in the last 5 seasons. They were 0-3 in their previous 3. They obviously burst down the door and finally find their way to the Final Four. It was cool to see them cutting down the nets instead of watching somebody else celebrate in that Elite 8. Vic Schaefer, what a job he has done at the University of Texas. Look, what a job he's done as a women's college basketball coach. With that win last night, he becomes just the 5th coach in women's college hoops history to take multiple teams to the Final Four. Obviously took Mississippi State there a couple of times when he was in Starkville. Now he's got the Longhorns there for the first of hopefully a few times. And for Texas, it's the 4th Final Four in school history. The Horns going for their 2nd ever national championship. Of course, that 19 1986 squad under Jody Conrad, who was at the game last night. That was really cool to see. And her and Vic Schaefer had a nice embrace on the court after the game went final. Texas, trying to win the second national championship in school history. And again, this was a close game. Texas was only up by 2 at halftime. It was tied after the third. It was tied late in the third, but the Longhorns went on a 10-2 run to end the third quarter to create a little bit of separation. That carried over into the start of the fourth. Texas pushed the lead to 14 early in that final frame. The Horned Frogs made it a little interesting. They went on an 8-0 run to get within 6, but the Horns responded. A great play call out of an under-the-basket, out-of-bounds play that set up Maddie Booker with the easy mid-range jumper from the baseline. I mean, she's lethal from the mid-range. She's not the best three-point shooter in the world. That's not her game. She can play downhill, but where she makes her money and where her bread is buttered is in the mid-range game. She's damn near automatic from like 10 to 18 feet. And whenever Texas needed a bucket, they went to number 35. Man, she's got a smooth stroke. She wears Kevin Durant's number. She was looking like Kevin Durant at times in that game last night, and she's done that all season long. It's why she was the conference player of the year in the toughest conference in the sport. She is an absolute stud, and she has carried this Texas team, again, to their first Final Four since 2003, but it wasn't just her. Got to give some love to Rory Harmon. We talked about the Texas defense being the biggest reason why the Horns beat the Horned Frogs last night. Rory Harmon was guarding the Big 12 Player of the Year and the All-American and just one of the best players in the country, Haley Van Lith, for 40 minutes. Vic Schaefer joked after the game that she could smell like what kind of toothpaste she was using. I mean, Rory Harmon, full court press for 40 minutes. She was great offensively. She scored 11 points in the first half when nobody else on Texas could do anything on the offensive end of the floor. It was Rory Harmon getting the buckets to spark the Longhorn offense, but most of her work was done on the defensive end, forcing 7 turnovers from HBL. Van Lith went 3 of 15 from the floor. Again, 7 turnovers to just 3 made baskets. She got to the free throw line a lot, so she ended up with 17 points, but it was one of the worst games of her TCU career. And Haley Van Lith was a part of that Louisville club that beat Texas in the round of 32 in Austin back in 2023. So Rory Harmon was a part of that 2023 team. She had revenge on her mind. A lot of the Longhorns had revenge on their mind. And Texas found a way to shut her down. Also, Sedona Prince, one of the best bigs in women's college basketball, held to just 1 made shot. She fouled out with like 6 or 7 minutes left in regulation. She got nothing going. She was shut down by the two-headed monster of Taylor Jones and Kyla Oldacre. And a shout-out to Kyla Oldacre as well, coming off the bench, about 9 points, 5 rebounds in just 15 minutes. Maybe the play of the game on an inbounds play. She forced a turnover, and she's 6'6". She's like one of the biggest girls on the court. She forces the turnover. She gets the ball. She dribbles it the length of the floor. Not only does she finish, but she gets an and one as well, turns it into a 3-point play in that second half as Texas was starting to create some separation. Kyla Oldacre didn't do anything against Tennessee in the Sweet 16, but she came on strong late in the regular season. And boy, she came on strong in the second half last night. Some big shots for her, 1 jumper late in the shot clock as well. I mean, she was magnificent. Back to Rory Harmon, though, for a second. Want to let you hear from her. She's the heart and soul of this Texas team. Of course, tore her ACL just 12 games into last season. Wasn't a part of the Horns' run to the Elite Eight. She's been through so much during her 4 seasons at Texas, and she was very emotional after the game. Understandably so. Here's a little bit from Rory Harmon post-game last night.
I just think about just going through, my recovery and coming back after 10 months. Yeah. I just look at it and, like I said, I'm so proud of myself and I'm so proud of my team to get to this moment. I'm not saying I never would have thought, but just to come back like I did and get to a Final Four like we did, it just means a lot to me. So.
Yeah, pretty cool. And you could tell it means a lot to her teammates, and it means a lot to Vic Schaefer as well. Nothing but praise for Rory Harmon for what she's meant to this program over the last 4 years, and what a performance by her on both ends last night. So Texas gets the win. You get to celebrate, but you don't have much time to party because, well, the Final Four is on Friday. and Texas will face a very familiar foe in the national semifinal. It's the Longhorns and South Carolina for the fourth time this year, this Friday at 6 o'clock. We'll preview this game a little bit later in the week, but I do want to let you hear from Vic Schaefer, the Texas coach. He was asked about some initial thoughts on getting to face the defending champion South Carolina Gamecocks.
Well, obviously they're really good. We've had some obviously some experience with them this year, so we're going to enjoy this today. And I'm not sure what that is, but we're going to enjoy this today, and then we'll start worrying about that tomorrow. But obviously we got our hands full, and we'll get ready.
Well, tomorrow is now today. Of course, that was Vic Schaefer last night after the win. Yeah, Texas has its hands full. Of course, South Carolina has been the premier program in women's college basketball over the last decade under Dawn Staley. The two teams split the regular season series, but South Carolina got the win in the SEC Tournament Championship a few weeks ago. The good news, both of the games that South Carolina won against Texas were in the state of South Carolina. The one game that Texas won was obviously here at Moody Center, but hopefully it's more of a neutral crowd than the regular season tilt in Columbia and then the SEC Tourney Championship in Greenville. Either way, tall task, tall order. South Carolina's played a couple of close games in this tournament. They held on to beat Duke in the Elite Eight on Sunday. Maybe Texas can get revenge again, just like they did in the regular season. But congrats to Vic Schaefer and the entirety of the Texas women's basketball team. Such a fun team to root for. An incredible ride all season long. And the ride continues to Tampa, 2 wins away from a national championship. All right, let's shift gears here. That's the good news surrounding Texas Longhorn sports. But sadly, we've got some injury news to talk about. One of Texas football's best young players could be out for the remainder of the spring. Who is it and what happened? We will tell you next right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Monarch Money. You ever check your bank account and wonder, where'd all my money go? Been there. Between dining out, shopping, entertainment, it's easy to lose track of your spending. That's where Monarch Money comes in. They are your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over all of your finances. This isn't just a budgeting app. This is a complete financial command center. So you can track all of your accounts, your investments, your spending in one place. So you can stop just managing your money, but start actually building wealth. It's all in one convenience. Everything right in front of you, online and on your phone. You don't need 4, 5, 6 apps to track your spending anymore. It's all right there in one place. Monarch Money, your personal CFO. They've got your back. Take control of your finances today with Monarch Money and use the code LOCKEDONCollege at monarchmoney.com to get 50% off your first year. That's monarchmoney.com, promo code LOCKEDONCollege for half off your first year. And today's episode is also brought to you by our friends at Game Time. Imagine watching your favorite team live, feeling the energy of the crowd, and witnessing unforgettable moments. There's nothing like experiencing a big game in person. Getting tickets shouldn't be stressful. In the past, it was. Well, now our friends at Game Time are here to help because they make it easier than ever before to grab last-minute seats at unbeatable prices. And their Game Time picks make it easier to find better value for tickets to sports, concerts, comedy shows, theater, etc., etc. I use Game Time all the time, right there on my phone. Super easy to use, no hidden fees. You get to see exactly what the view from your seat looks like before you hit purchase. It's that simple. So take the guesswork out of buying tickets with our friends at Game Time. Use the promo code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off your first purchase. Again, download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDONCollege for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns, your team every day. Some bad injury news for Texas football. Sophomore wide receiver Ryan Wingo suffered a hamstring injury in practice over the weekend. Now, the good news to that bad news is it doesn't sound very serious, but the bad news to the bad news is the Longhorns may decide to keep Ryan Wingo out for the remainder of the spring as a precaution. So again, doesn't sound like he is going to have to miss the rest of the spring, but there's a chance Texas, to avoid any further injury risk, they just decide to put Ryan Wingo on the shelf and say, hey, we've got bigger fish to fry when we get to the fall. No need to risk anything here. Ryan Wingo had a tremendous freshman season in 2024, 29 catches, 472 yards, and 2 touchdowns. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this. I hate this for 3 reasons. Number one, the obvious one, you don't want anybody getting hurt, even though it's the spring and we're still 5 months away from the first game that actually counts. Still not ideal. And we are talking about a soft tissue injury. I guess this is 1A, a soft tissue injury, which those can linger a little bit longer. So you understand, again, Texas being overly cautious with Ryan Wingo here. Reason number 2, like you got a first-year starter at quarterback. And I'm sure Arch Manning and Ryan Wingo worked together a lot in practice last year because both of those guys were backups. Obviously, Wingo played more than Manning, but I'm certain that those dudes got reps with the number 2 offense a bunch during the 2024 season. But still, you want your first-year, first-time starter at quarterback to build rapport with the guy who might be your number 1 wide receiver this season. I mean, you're losing Matthew Golden, you're losing Silas Bolden, you're losing Isaiah Bond. DeAndre Moore's dealing with a toe injury, so he's been out for the spring. Like Ryan Wingo had the opportunity to prove that he could be the top dog in this Texas wide receiver room. You want him getting as comfortable with the quarterback as possible. You want those guys building up a rapport. So when you take the field against Ohio State on August 30th, like they know where each other is going to be. Arch knows exactly what he wants from Wingo, and Wingo knows exactly what to expect from Arch Manning. So, yeah, I mean, I hate that Wingo and Moore, the top 2 returning wide receivers for Texas, aren't on the field right now. That's not ideal when you're trying to break in a new starter at quarterback. I know Arch Manning's great. I'm excited about what he can do, but again, it goes without saying, you want those guys on the field building up that rapport with QB1. And then reason number 3, this one maybe matters the least, but I think it's worth bringing up. Remember, Ryan Wingo recently had LASIK surgery. Like his vision was horrible during winter workouts, and apparently that was a bit of a problem at the start of spring ball. So he underwent LASIK surgery, which means his eyes are better, but there's still an adjustment period with different eyesight. Anybody who's ever worn glasses or contacts or, changed their prescription or had LASIK, like I went through all of those things. Anytime your eyesight changes, it takes some time to get used to your new eyes. And with Ryan Wingo, look, he'll have the opportunity over the summer. I'm sure he could still play catch. It's talking about a hamstring injury, so he can work on, the depth perception and some of the other things that he's got to deal with those LASIK-corrected eyes. But, maybe I'm reaching with issue number 3 here. Again, new eyesight, like it takes some time to get used to that new vision. There's that adjustment period, and you'd love Ryan Wingo to know exactly what it's like to run routes against a defense and make catches on the field with those new eyes. So I don't know. This sucks. I mean, as of right now, Texas is down its top 5 receivers from last season for the remainder of the spring. Again, Matthew Golden, Isaiah Bond, Silas Bolden, they're all off to the league. You've got DeAndre Moore nursing that toe, and you've got Ryan Wingo with the hamstring injury as well. So the guys who took the number 1 reps at practice on Monday, Parker Livingston, we talked about him a lot. Seems like he's having a phenomenal start to the spring. Jamie French and Dalen McCutcheon. You've got redshirt freshman, true freshman, true freshman. Those were your 3 receivers getting first-team reps in practice yesterday. And then I think there's only 3 or 4 other healthy scholarship receivers on this roster right now. You got Khaleke Lockett, early enrollee, Aaron Butler, redshirt freshman, Michael Terry III, who was recruited as an athlete, but he's listed as a receiver on the Texas roster right now. You don't have a lot of options to throw to in spring ball. And we've talked about this before on this channel. I'll bring it up again. The transfer portal opens up 2 weeks from tomorrow on April 16th. The Longhorns have to go get a wide receiver. I said that before DeAndre Moore got hurt and before Ryan Wingo got hurt. Now you got those 2 guys not able to participate in the spring, and those are the only 2 returning receivers with any collegiate catches to their names. You got to have some proven commodities for any quarterback, but especially a first-year starter. I don't know who it's going to be. We'll spend some time in future videos talking about some potential receiver options for the Horns in the portal, but I think they are going to need to get at least 1, if not 2, pass catchers when that portal opens up again 2 weeks from tomorrow. So wishing the best for Ryan Wingo. Again, doesn't sound that bad, but there's a chance that we don't hear about Ryan Wingo until we get to the summer, maybe even fall camp. That's another receiver that Texas is down. A problem that was already big at the start of the spring feels like it is getting bigger by the day. Unfortunately, the injury news extends beyond Texas football. The Red Hot Texas baseball team got some devastating injury news yesterday. How will the Longhorns respond? And can Texas still compete for the SEC title without one of its best players? We will debate next, right here on Locked On Longhorns. But first, a word for our friends at Supply House. Get the supplies you need from the site made for skilled trades. That is Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order your products online. Their website is super easy to use. It's packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. They've got a huge inventory of more than 200,000 parts from more than 400 of the top brands. You're going to find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. And Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service, so you're always going to talk to a real person. They've got their free Trademaster program that offers exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it is your turn. Head over to supplyhouse.com/TM and join the Trademaster program today. Start ordering those plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Again, supplyhouse.com. And hey, if you use the promo code SH5, you're going to get 5% off your first order at supplyhouse.com.
The NCAA tournament is here, and so is the bracket breakdown.
Locked On Podcast Network and Amazon Fire TV channels are teaming up to deliver NCAA tournament coverage like never before. Watch studio shows featuring former players and Locked On's local experts as they guide you through every upset, buzzer beater, and bracket matchup.
Stream it all for free on Amazon Fire TV channel. Search Bracket Breakdown to see it all for free.
It's your team every day.
Yes, indeed. It is your team every day. Welcome back to Locked On Longhorns. The Longhorn baseball team is back in action tonight against Texas State here in Austin. Unfortunately, though, that's not the lead story for Texas baseball right now. I was hoping to use this segment to preview tonight's game and talk about what to expect following the big weekend sweep over Missouri. But the Longhorns were dealt a devastating blow yesterday. Kendall Rogers of D1 Baseball reported that preseason All-American Max Ballou is going to be out for the remainder of the regular season with a fractured thumb. The university came out later in the day and said Ballou is week to week with that thumb injury. Hopefully week to week is better than out for the season. But either way, it doesn't sound good. Ballou is going to need surgery, and he will be out for a while. Could he come back for the postseason? Potentially. Maybe that requires a deep run to the Supers. Maybe that requires a run to Omaha. Who knows? But we do know the Horns are going to be without one of their best players and one of the best players in the country for the foreseeable future. Max Ballou, again, preseason All-American. He was the Big 12 Player of the Year in 2024. Bats second in the lineup. Was having a great year. Just a huge stick to replace. And, of course, it's not just Ballou dealing with an injury right now. Two more Texas starters got hurt in Como and will likely have to miss time. Rylan Galvan, the starting catcher, and then Adrian Rodriguez, the true freshman third baseman / DH. Doesn't sound like either of those injuries are as bad as Ballou's or as bad as initially feared, which is a very good thing. But I can't imagine we see either Galvan or A-Rod in the lineup tonight. And who knows about this weekend? And it's a huge weekend because number 3, Georgia, is coming to town for the first top 5 series at the Dish in years. You want as many hands on deck as possible against that team. It's a battle for first place in the SEC. And yeah, Texas might be without 1/3 of its starting lineup. Sounds like Galvan more likely to play than A-Rod this weekend, but who knows? It's Tuesday right now. We'll figure it out when we get to Friday. But the question becomes, where do the Horns go from here? Usually you say next man up, but right now it's next men up for the Horns. The guy that I look to, the guy that Texas absolutely needs to step up, is Easton Winfield, the transfer from ULM, who had a great year in Monroe last year. Hit .330, 10 home runs, 40 RBIs, 18 steals, one of the top transfer portal pickups in the country this offseason. He was supposed to be a big piece here, just hasn't clicked for him. He's 7 for 37 at the plate. hitting less than 200 on the season. And you always wonder when a guy goes from, a conference in a school like ULM to a conference like the SEC in a place like Texas, how they adapt to the tougher competition. So far, not so good for Easton Winfield. And I think some of the struggles are mental as well. I think he's a much better player than what we've seen in the first month and change of the 2025 year. But he's probably going to become your everyday left fielder. And I would think Tommy Farmer moves from left to right to replace Ballou. So you're going to need Easton Winfield to step up a little bit. And then you look at the infield, right? Casey Borba probably replaces Adrian Rodriguez in the short term. Borba's been playing a ton, been starting about 50% of the games this year, hitting 273 with 4 homers and 55 at-bats on the season. OPS near 1,000. He's been very good. You feel good about him. Cole Chamberlain, your freshman catcher, he may get a little run while Galvan is out. Hopefully he's not out for very long. But you need guys to step it up, not just the names we mentioned, but your regular players like Will Gasparino, who hit 4 bombs at Mizzou. Jalen Flores, another preseason All-American caliber player. He's been red hot lately. I mean, Schussler, Mendoza, Farmer, all of your regular players who are healthy and on the field, they've got to carry more of the load while these 3 guys are out. And then when Galvan and A-Rod return, those guys too have to pick up the slack that Max Ballou is leaving behind. So we'll see, man. It's not a great Texas State team that Texas is playing tonight. They're not having a good year. They've been a solid program the last 5-10 seasons. Not quite clicking for them. I think they're 3 or 4 games under 500 right now, but this is their Super Bowl. You can't take them lightly. They beat A&M earlier in the year. Everyone's doing that. They also beat Oklahoma State earlier in the year. So don't take them lightly. And you'd love to get a win just to get some confidence with all the bad injury news stemming from the weekend. Just give the guys in that locker room and this fan base reason to believe that everything's going to be okay. Of course, Georgia this weekend is a hell of a lot tougher than Texas State, but a loss tonight will have people thinking, oh, God, this could get bad. Hopefully the Horns take care of business this Tuesday, just like they did last Tuesday when they run-ruled Sam Houston. So praying for Max Ballou and his family. Hopefully the surgery goes well, and hopefully Texas makes a deep enough run for him to return before the end of the year. But that is, needless to say, a huge loss for Jim Schlossnagle and company. All right, that's going to do it for today's show. Appreciate y'all tuning in. Thank you for making Locked On Longhorns a part of your day every day. For your next listen, check out Locked On College Basketball with Isaac Shade and Andy Patton. March is here. Well, April's here, but the Final Four is right around the corner. You need to be the most informed fan throughout all of the madness. Find Locked On College Basketball on YouTube or wherever you listen to your podcast. We'll recap the baseball game tomorrow. We'll talk more Texas women's hoops and, of course, the latest with Longhorn football as well on tomorrow's show. That's going to do it. Please like this video. Please subscribe if you haven't yet. Please leave a comment. Please rate. All of those great things. Really do appreciate y'all tuning in each and every day. I'll talk to y'all tomorrow. Until then, horns up. Mike's off. We'll see you next time. This is Locked On Longhorns.